We are live. Okay. I'm not even going to try to pin a comment anymore. If y'all been watching any of these, you already know what a struggle it's been. Hello, people. Ma'am. Hello, people. There we go. So we are going to be rant at Journeyman about their fun products today. There we go. Hello, hello.
All right, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Excellent. Let me adjust
Hello,
this.
everyone that is coming into the room. I'm just pouring up my silver cross. Give me 1 second.
Oh, let me follow suit.
I should have been better prepared, y'all. So, okay, hello, guys. As you all know, we will be talking to Grant. Now, Grant, say your last name for me because I am not about
Oh
to
yeah,
butcher it.
no, it's okay. It's Gryffindor actually. So
Gryffindor. Oh, okay. So in my
like from
head, I'm
Harry
saying it.
Potter. Yeah, like
Yeah,
the Puffy
exactly. It
Harry
reminds
Potter
me of
with the
Gryffindor.
F at the end. Yeah, I mean, I deserve some sort of reimbursement, I guess, for my childhood of
You
enduring
need
people
some
calling me
royalties or something.
Dumbledore. Royalties, whatever they can come up with. Yeah.
Yes. I'm in the warehouse. Give me 1 second.
Oh, you're good. You're good.
If that's the person who's picking up my pallets. Thanks for watching. Thank you. Okay, sorry. Y'all already know. If y'all been watching any of these, you know when I'm in the warehouse, I'm always multitasking. So,
Oh
sorry
yeah.
about that.
That's how it goes here too. There's always something going on. I'm actually looking over our production floor right now.
Oh,
So
nice.
maybe if there's a little time towards the end, I'll take my phone off my stand and give a good live shot of it as well.
Oh, yes. I would love to see
Yeah,
that.
a little
And so
mini
you're at the
tour
distillery
basically.
right now.
I am, yes. So I am in our facility. It's in Three Oaks, Michigan. It's a 35,000 square foot old renovated factory that was built in the late 1800s. So I know all those bottles you have behind you have different labels and different
I did
names.
it just for
Um,
you. I'm glad you
It's
noticed.
beautiful. Yeah, thank you. No, I mean, playing on the last feather, the feather bone, the corsets, whips, and whiskey, the buggy whip wheat, those are all named after the story and the factory that we have here in Three Oaks, Michigan. This facility was
Oh.
used to make women's corsets and buggy whips, actually, back in the day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So you had already answered. You answered my question before I even got a chance to ask it because I was very curious
that's what I do.
about the choices behind the names or whatever, where that inspiration is
Sure.
coming from with the theme. So, okay.
Yeah.
So the facility used to be used to make women's corsets.
Women's corsets, yeah, and it's actually a really cool story. Gentleman named E.K. Warren, he worked in a general store in town and heard the common complaint from the ladies and the uncomfortable corsets that they were kind of coerced into wearing back then.
Hmm.
He was traveling in Chicago and actually walked past a mattress, pillow, and feather duster factory and saw that they were discarding the actual quill of these feathers. And being, an entrepreneur and a good business mind, he came up with a plan to implement that into the women's corset and remove the whalebone, which they were using at the time. The whalebone was very constrictive. It was fragile and brittle, so when it broke, it would even, poke and stab ladies in the side, which was not very
Oh,
comfortable. His first year
no.
of business, he completely revolutionized women's fashion for what it was in the 1800s. First year of business made about $5,000 in revenue. By his third year of business, he was turning $1 million profit and opened up retail shops around the world.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing. It amazes me how so many men have like had these major
Oh,
revolutionary
yeah.
inventions for women to wear.
Yeah.
It
Well, I
still
mean,
trips me out that men invented the bra.
100%. I mean, it'd be like today if somebody were to like revolutionize maybe women's leggings, I guess, if you wanted to come up with something. Because, my girlfriend has plenty of pairs of leggings, and corsets were kind of in the same boat back in the day as well. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thankfully more women
absolutely.
are getting involved in the innovation
As they
in
should.
that sense. So
Yeah,
cheers to them on that. That's pretty cool though. Okay.
absolutely.
So that is where the theme comes from with these. Okay.
Yeah,
That
it's just
makes so much sense.
that
Okay.
rugged, gritty, pre-prohibition, late 1800s messaging and branding throughout the product.
Okay. And so when did Journeyman Distillery start to occupy that space?
Yes, very good question. So actually in 2009, founder and owner here, Bill Welter, and his wife bought the building, started renovations. At that time, he was actually doing some midnight distilling at Convo Distillery in Chicago.
Oh,
In
I
the
know Kobo.
Ravenswood
Okay.
neighborhood. Yeah, really good stuff.
Hmm.
We're still great friends with them, and they helped us get up and running at the time. As everybody here knows, whiskey isn't made overnight. So Bill would go in and work from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. At times, we considered calling our first batch of rye Midnight Rye in honor of that. But he built up a good inventory so that when we opened our doors in 2011, we had some products to sell and some cocktails to make.
Okay, nice. You guys been on since
Yeah,
2011. Okay, how am I just
2011.
getting familiar with you all? How long have you been with the company?
I'm a little over a year and a half now at this point, I believe.
Okay.
My background has been catered to the alcohol industry for a long time. I grew up on a grape farm.
Really?
Every season, this time of year, we're making wine with my dad. I then transitioned and did marketing and sales for a winery. I worked for a distributor in Michigan as well. And now I'm lucky enough to represent an awesome company like Journeyman.
Oh, okay, nice. And so
Yeah,
you're from Michigan?
I am. I grew up 20 minutes away from the distillery out here in the farmland
There you
of
go.
Southwest Michigan. Yeah,
So you grew
yeah,
up on a grape farm in Michigan. I
great
love
farm.
it.
Mm-hmm.
That is
Yep.
good. So what are y'all doing with
Something.
the grapes?
Oh, absolutely. So we had a Welch's contract at the time too. So my family would
Really?
sell our grapes to Welch's, and they'd be put in their grape juice and jellies and jams. But my dad also made wine and does it as a commercial winemaker now too. So something about converting those sugars to starches from crops that we grow is really fascinating to me. Whether it's grapes, whether you're doing it with grains and making whiskeys or beers with mashes. So I mean, definitely at home here at Journeyman.
That is pretty dope. Okay, so you've
Yeah,
been introduced into the wine and spirits game for a minute.
yeah. I was kind of born into it, I suppose.
Yeah. So what attracted you to Journeyman? How did you
Um,
how did you wind up? And
no,
so I didn't even fully introduce what you do with Journeyman.
sure,
Sorry, guys.
sure.
So Grant is their national brand ambassador. Well, it seemed like you may also, do a couple of other things with them. You said you were looking over the production floor right now. So
Oh,
do you kind of wear multiple hats with them?
not necessarily with production. I've worked alongside, and our production manager here, his name's Tom. He fills me in on all the info that I need. Essentially, the role as the national brand ambassador, it's a lot of collaborations between marketing and sales, consumer activations, engagements, going to
Okay.
fun events. I was at Whiskey and Barrel Night in Chicago last night. I know they were out in DC, probably Q1 or Q2 earlier this year, and I'll be back
Hmm.
out with them in DC in Q1 of next year as well. So
Okay.
look forward to linking up with you guys maybe then
Yeah.
too.
So I'll see you then.
Yeah, it's a lot of sales, a lot of marketing. We have a really cool in-house marketing team as well. Pretty much everything that we do here at Journeyman is done with our in-house team that we put together.
Okay. All right, cool. Well, let's dive into the Silver Cross first
I'm with you. Yeah,
and talk about that a little bit.
sure.
Ooh.
So as you
And
know,
guys,
this
everything
one,
that we're trying today, we do have available at Seelbach.
yes, absolutely. And you guys ship into a little over 20 states, correct?
Yeah, I believe it's
Excellent.
between 22, 25 states.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. Yeah, so Silver Cross, this one, a gold medal at the Ascot Awards not too long ago, didn't it?
Yeah, shout out to Ascot, and I'll show y'all the
Uh-huh.
bottle.
Yeah,
I like the labels that you guys do. It's giving very vintage. I always like a vintage-esque
absolutely. I mean,
label.
we really like to tell E.K. Warren's story, as I mentioned in the past. One blurb that I left out that's actually really important. He was a prohibitionist. So he bought all the liquor licenses in Berrien County, or attempted to at one time, bought a significant chunk of them, reimbursed the families that he bought the licenses from so that they had money to buy food and continue living. But he made the area a completely dry area. And the best part of the story is, we're making booze in his factory, consuming it, selling it, and having a good time. But yeah,
Wow.
absolutely. So the Silver Cross. The Silver Cross was actually a medallion that they used to give out in the British Open. Represents leadership and sportsmanship. Our founder and owner, Bill Welter, is actually a very avid golfer. He's humble about it, but almost essentially a scratch golfer, which means he pretty much can shoot par on any hole that you play, or better.
Okay.
Um, so the
That's like
Silver
speaking
Cross is
another
actually
language to me because I don't speak golf very well, but
100%.
I've heard par before.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. We donate 1% of our proceeds to First Tee, which is a children's golf organization, to give out scholarships and try to keep the next generation and the youth involved with the game in some capacity.
Okay. And so this is you guys' 4 grain?
4 grain whiskey, so it's equal parts corn, rye, wheat, and malted barley.
Oh,
I
equal
really
parts.
Equal
Okay.
parts, yeah. So I always remember that too by the medallion actually has that little cross on it. That's 4 equal parts as well.
Okay.
So
Cool.
something that's quite uncommon in the distilling world, an equal part 4 grain. And
Yeah.
to receive the recognition that we did through your ascot ceremony, also something that's very uncommon for a 4 grain. So
Yes. And
I
what
like to
category
walk
was this
through.
in under Ascot? I don't even see. I never know because when we get our samples, they're always,
Yeah,
by code. It's not by,
yep,
we never know what exactly we're tasting. So what
for
category
sure.
was this under?
I'm not sure. I think it might have been under American whiskey.
Okay. That's what I was saying.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it took a gold medal out of that category. But I mean, walking through this one on the palate, this was one of my favorite whiskeys when I started working at Journeyman. You get that sweetness
Mm,
from the wheat and the corn right up front, a little pepper, a
absolutely.
little spice in the middle. And that malted barley, I mean, really, really shines through and takes over with that earthy maltiness on the back end, a little touch of smoke.
I get some citrus oils in this too.
Hmm.
A little lemon, a little orange.
A lot of good essence, yeah.
Hmm. Oh, yeah, the spice is definitely there.
Oh, yeah.
A little bit of
This one's,
herbaceousness too, probably from the rye, because I get that sensation that you would get from like biting into like some mint or a piece of
sure.
sage or basil or something.
Yep, yep. Yeah, that mintiness, that pepper, that spice.
Hmm.
I mean, a 4 grain is so hard to do, especially in a mash the way we do it as well. We're mashing, 25% of each grain, and to yield a product that has regular consistency, phenomenal mouthfeel, and the palate that it provides. It's very quickly, as I mentioned, became one of my favorites from the distillery.
Yeah, this is. And so is this one of you guys' flagships? Like it's available all year?
Um, yeah, it is available all year. We have it in distribution in most of our states. We're in about 36 states right now. I would guess that this one is part of the lineup in every state that we distribute in right now as well. There's a
Okay.
handful of states where the set's a little different depending on legalities. As you know, it's tricky state to state these
Yeah.
days. Yeah.
Are you all available in like the ABC states, like North Carolina, Virginia?
Hmm.
Okay.
I believe so.
Mm. Mm. That is yummy. Okay. So at least from my little bit of digging that I was doing
Hmm.
on my Googles, it looks like Journeyman does a lot more than just producing spirits. Like you guys
Yeah.
offer like
Oh, yeah.
event spaces and stuff like that, and there's like a whole Journeyman experience. Like, what's that about?
Yeah, so I mean, for the Midwest, we are one of the destination spots when it comes to um, distillation and distillation tours. But on top of that,
Mm.
we have a full service restaurant, amazing food, really, really close to farm to table. We source a lot of our ingredients from local farms in the area. We have 3 event spaces on site as well, one of which I'm sitting in right now.
Okay.
They're actually gearing up for a couple weddings this weekend. One of our spaces holds about 350 to 400 people. The room that I'm sitting in right now holds around 200 people. And then we have another room downstairs, which can hold about 75 to 100 people. We also have 3 Airbnbs on site that we own.
Oh.
So there's lots of different revenue channels and streams coming in. Um, One of our more recent projects was actually building a 30,000 square foot putting green at our distillery.
Oh.
As I mentioned, golf is huge with our
Yeah,
brand.
it's huge for him. Yeah.
So yeah, people come here just to play on the putting green. It's 18 holes, and I like to call it elevated mini golf. It's appropriate for all level golfers. If you're a scratch golfer like Bill and you want to practice your putting, it's a great place to do so. But it's also a really awesome spot to get children involved. We let kids on the putting green for free as well.
Okay. That's pretty cool. I am still
Yeah,
trying to get someone to teach me golf a little bit. So
sure.
maybe one
Well,
of these days I'll
when you
come
get
stay
up
at the
here,
Airbnb
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
and get some tips. I already have a golf polo, so
Perfect.
I will at least come dressed appropriately.
I mean, best part of it, or most important part of it is look good, play good, right?
Is to look the part. You look great, you
Yeah,
feel great, you at least pretend to play great. So whenever I make my way to Michigan, I will
Absolutely.
definitely make it a point to stay at Journeyman. That's kind of fun.
Oh
It
yeah,
shows on
we'll
the
take care
Journeyman
of you.
website that spirits are available in Kentucky. Do you happen to know where in Kentucky we can get it?
Off the top of my head, I don't know at the moment. But
Steelbox
if you,
also ships to Kentucky.
I think that's the way to do it. Then, yeah, right through Seelbach's website. Yeah,
We definitely ship to Kentucky. So if you
yeah.
want to skip the whole search, you could just come holler at us real quick. So,
And not to throw shade at Kentucky or anything, but they're very passionate and very prideful in what they create in their state.
yeah.
So introducing a whiskey that's beat Kentucky whiskeys and bourbons in award ceremonies. Um, Not oftentimes are they willing to take that dent to their pride and put it on their shelves. Uh, but we're doing what we can.
They are a prideful state, but
Prideful
it's
state.
okay.
Michigan's the same way. We're very prideful about what we do here in Michigan too. So
Yeah, I bet. And so with that being the case, you guys are certified organic, or do you just use organic practices and skip the labeling part of it? Because I know that
no,
there's a lot of, in terms of finance, I know it's pretty expensive sometimes to
yeah,
slap that organic sticker on it, but a lot of people do practice organic practices and just aren't able
yeah.
to advertise it that way. So for you guys are certified. What does that exactly mean when producing a spirit period, not even just whiskey, but what does that mean to be organic in terms of
Yeah.
you guys' process?
Oh, 100%. Good question. No, we cover all the bases for organic certifications. So we are USDA organic. We're MOSA organic, which is a Midwest organic certification. We're also kosher organic, and we're certified gluten free. What that process looks like, we partner with farms from the Midwest. Most of them are within a 90-mile radius of our distillery. And the farm has to be a certified organic farm where we buy our grain from. So
Okay.
essentially, the higher quality product yields a higher quality output when we're making our spirits. So it's kind of our firm belief that using organic products, organic grains in our mash bills and in our recipes just yields a product that's cleaner and is less likely to have impurities in it.
Okay. Cool. So what does the non-organic process look like?
Probably just grains that were grown with pesticides and herbicides and potentially GMOs.
Okay.
Which is it's all good. I mean, it bulks up your crop. You get a little more yield out of it, but sometimes you lose some of that consistency in the product as well.
Ah, okay. Got you. Got you.
Yeah.
Let me
Yep.
answer the question. Oh, Miss Sinister, believe Journeyman should be up available on the website now. If it is not available right now, then it will be available by the time this is over because I've already put the bugs in the ears of the powers that be to make sure it's up on the site and on the app for those who do not have it yet.
Oh yeah, I
So
downloaded the app.
you will be seeing it up on the site slash app soon if it's not already there. Just to answer that real quick. So my favorite of you guys' lineup, because I've tried the Silver Cross, obviously. I've
Yep.
tried, I think there's two flagship bourbons and two flagship ryes, if I'm not mistaken. And then I've tried the Buggy Whips, which is the proofed down version of the wheat whiskey. But my favorite is the Corset Whips
Oh yeah.
whiskey, which
Oh
is
yeah.
the, what is it, 117 proof?
Yeah. Typically comes in
Yeah.
around 117 proof. That's what my batch is at as well right now. Which batch number do you have?
I have, where do I find the batch on the back?
Should say
Yep,
on the back.
batch
Yeah.
number 48.
Okay. Yep. I'm at 59 here. But
Okay.
we blend for a flavor profile, not for an age statement. So these are blends from various size barrels, whether it's a 15, 30, or 53. Going forward, we're laying down pretty much nothing but 53-gallon barrels. But this Corset's, the batch that you're on and the batch that I'm on pretty close to as well is probably 3.5 to 4 year aged.
Okay. It's yummy. And this is the one that won Best of Show at the NASCAR Awards. So
Yep.
this was my introduction to you all, was tasting it through
Yes.
ASCOT.
Yeah. I
Which is why I was
remember.
so surprised you guys have been around for so long and I've just somehow not gotten introduced yet.
Understood. I remember when the ceremony concluded. It was probably like 11 o'clock on a Friday night or so. Um, Everybody let out a good fist pump from Journeyman here after taking the best in show. And then I remember reaching out to you and starting the conversation of getting Seelbach involved. we had Kevin with us at the time who sent you some samples, and here we
Hmm.
are today. So
Hmm.
yeah,
This course
Corsets has
of
got to be one of my
whiskey is
favorites.
delicious. It's got chocolate. It's got like almost like a toasty vanilla, like it's had some fire to it. Mm.
And for a cask strength whiskey, this batch 117 proof, I mean, it drinks like some other brands, high 90 or 100 proof
It
whiskeys.
really, yeah, it really does, and I prefer
Hmm.
it at this proof. I like the other one also, but
Yeah,
I think it's probably just the way my palate is trained at this point, because we pretty much don't pick anything that isn't castrated when
for
it comes
sure.
to our own barrels and stuff. But I just really like being in control of how proof down it is.
Yeah.
But this, I don't really feel a need to proof this down much. Like I could
Oh,
drink this over a cube and be perfectly fine.
absolutely. I mean, flavors open up a little bit um, compared to the Buggy Whip. I mean, there are so many layers to this whiskey. I always say the Buggy Whip is a great introductory whiskey, which is the 90 proof version of the Corsets,
Hmm.
both 100% wheat. But the Corsets being at cask strength, there's layers on top of that caramel and vanilla. There's butterscotch, there's toffee, there's those
Hmm.
creme brulee notes, those burnt sugar notes.
That's
And
what I was
then,
gonna say. It tastes like baked goods,
oh yeah, yeah,
like
it's like a
really well
sweet
done
chocolate
baked
cake.
goods.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Think like Chili's chocolate lava cake.
That's actually really good way to put that.
Yeah, we came up
Especially
with that.
it's the fact you specified chilies. Oh my god, that's so funny.
The
Like so
specific
many people
chocolate
could
lava
probably
cake. Yeah,
vividly remember exactly what that tastes like.
absolutely, absolutely.
You take me right back to my college years. There's like the one restaurant on campus,
Where'd you go to college at, D?
BCU.
Okay, love that.
Yeah, it was the one restaurant that took our meal plan points.
There you go. Take it where you can.
Now, I don't know how much wheat whiskey you typically drink outside of, obviously the Buggy Whip and Corset Whips and whiskey, but
Yeah.
I feel like wheat whiskey is having a moment right now.
Oh,
That
absolutely.
there was not a conversation happening about wheat whiskeys at all before like the past maybe year and a half to 2 years. Like,
For
have
sure.
you noticed that?
100%. I mean, a lot of the Sazerac line, a lot of the Buffalo Trace products, a lot of weeded bourbons, as those became allocated in some states and drew huge demands and rose in popularity. People are seeking out weeded whiskeys. When I do tastings, whether it's at a large scale trade show or an event or just at a liquor store, um, you'd be so surprised. So many people come in and say, they look for Weller, they look for the Maker's Mark, they look for the weeded bourbons. And when I pull out the wheat whiskey, that's 100% wheat, without that heat and that smoke to it, without that
Mhm.
viscosity from the corn. I mean, they're completely blown away. Um, when it comes to 100% wheat whiskeys, there's only a handful on the market, I feel like, and
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you if there's any other that are cask strengths on the market as well.
I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I think
I know,
we may have one. I think we have a barrel picker we did that was 100% wheat. I have to double check,
okay,
but that's the only other one that I can think of off the top of my head that is just a straight wheat whiskey, not a wheated bourbon. Because
yeah.
I
So
have
there's
had plenty of wheated bourbons that I've enjoyed, but wheat whiskey as a category is like I
yeah,
enjoy it.
it's growing, it's fun. I think
It's definitely
wheat
a fun
whiskey
one,
is
and it's another
designed.
one of those ones. It's just like another excuse to like nerd out on the whole whiskey category because
Yeah,
wheat from Michigan is not going to give you the same profile as like wheat from New York or wheat from Kentucky
yeah,
or whatever. So
yeah.
I like that there's just all these different ways to like keep expanding the nerd
No,
tree
absolutely,
with all these branches of stuff to explore.
absolutely. No, I think wheat's fun. I think that it's rising in popularity, and it's kind of designed to be marketed and pushed towards your whiskey aficionados that want to try
Mhm.
something neat, try something on the rocks. They're gravitating away from making cocktails or those introductory whiskey drinks like old fashions and Manhattans.
Yeah,
Um, and the wheat whiskeys are just so much complexity to them, so much softness, such an approachability that it's definitely making some waves for sure.
yeah, for sure. I would probably like something like if I had to pick like a classic cocktail to do a wheat whiskey with, I'd probably do a Gold Rush. I
Gold
think
Rush,
honey
absolutely.
will go so nice
My,
with this.
yep, that's my number one cocktail with the wheat whiskey too. Gold Rush,
Hmm.
100%.
Yeah, that's an easy one for
Little
sure.
honey, little lemon.
You have any bartending experience under your belt, Grant?
I do actually, yeah. I
Really?
bartended for almost 4 years at a place here in Southwest Michigan.
Okay,
It was
nice.
a very high volume, very high velocity bar.
Okay.
Not a whole lot of craft cocktails, but we did get creative with some Journeyman products, and put an old fashioned on the menu. Um, Probably when I was there, it was probably 4 or 5 years ago now. Um, right around when Mad Men came out and everybody started drinking old fashions and Manhattans.
Yeah.
So,
It's ridiculous how easily TV will influence the drink culture.
oh my goodness. Yeah, espresso martinis and coffee liqueur are reaping benefits from that right now. So,
Literally.
uh-huh.
Literally. I can only imagine how much cranberry juice went up during the Sex and the City reign.
Yeah, oh, 100%. Yep. Vodka cranberries, strawberry.
Cosmopolitans.
Yes. Yep.
I still cringe at the. Well, no, I don't cringe at Cosmos anymore. Let me cut it out. Because once I started to make my own Cosmos, I was like, oh, this is actually a really good cocktail. But
Right.
I'm kind of biased against all vodka cocktails. So
Oh,
just
yeah.
the Cosmopolitan is just, it's one of those retro like drinks that are coming back now. And I kind of
Yeah,
wish it was.
absolutely. I like them. I like them with craft vodka, like Journeyman's Red Arrow vodka.
I like it really intentional with the mixer, with the juices.
Yeah.
Yes, I'll take it
Yeah.
that way for sure. But
Yeah.
it's very rare that you're coming across that type of cocktail bar was actually putting a Cosmo on the menu though. So
Yeah. No, I mean, it's vodka is just such a neutral spirit, and to get creative with it, especially with some of the classic cocktails that are already in place, um, a little mixology background is definitely helpful.
for sure. Do you feel like it's been helpful to you in working with spirits brands?
I believe so. Yeah, 100%. The little bit of bartending mixology that we did at the place where I worked, um, just familiarized me with the different spirits, and how they counteract with different ingredients when you're building cocktails. So, um, and then over time, working for Journeyman and calling on some amazing accounts in the Midwest, and nationally more recently, um, learned so much about the cocktail scene down in New Orleans from Tales at the Cocktail,
Mm,
and then out in San Francisco. Um, I mean, the mixology scene is just blossoming, and it's really fun to be a part of.
yeah, yeah. Good old Tales of the Cocktail. So bummed
Tales
out
was
you during that
legendary.
week.
I know we tried to link up, but as you know, it's Tales. There's so much
You can
going
pull
on
it
down
20
there.
different directions at Tales. So
Oh, yeah, it's nonstop too.
yeah,
Wake up wake up or go to bed at 4 a.m. Wake up at 6, 7, 8. Start it over again.
yeah, exactly.
Uh huh.
Well, let's talk about this beautiful liqueur
Okay,
that I
absolutely.
had the pleasure of trying a couple weeks ago. Um, I'm obsessed with the fall for the flavors alone.
Hmm.
So anything with like apples and spice. I'm not a pumpkin spice person. I'm more of like an apple spice person when it comes
Okay.
to the fall season. So I was actually really excited when shoot, I don't want to get his name wrong. I think Jake, the rep that's here.
Okay.
Shout out to him. Love him.
Yeah, for sure.
When he came with, let me taste through some stuff. The OCG, Old Country
Yeah.
Goodness.
Old country
The
goodness. Yeah.
Yeah, the apple cider liqueur, like it's so good.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It is really, really good, and
It's
it can very easily go left with making an apple cider liqueur for sure. Because I've
oh yeah.
tasted a litany of liqueurs, of course, through Ascot and just through people wanting me to try stuff, potentially bringing a Seelbach or whatever. Um, but it just tastes really like fresh.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's part of our branding as well, using organic ingredients,
Yeah.
keeping it as natural as possible.
Which
So
you
we
can tell
source
because of the like when you look at it, you
sediment.
can kind of see in the color. You can see the sediment
Yeah,
is in there, and that doesn't bother me at all.
no, no. I mean, for our brand in particular, because we're organic certified, there's no artificial syrups or colors or flavors or anything going into these. We actually source our apple juice and our apple cider fresh pressed from Grand Rapids, Michigan. And then each batch has a proprietary blend of spices as well. I can tell you it's a lot of cinnamon for sure.
Hmm.
And it's only 10% alcohol. I have a lot of accounts and a lot of family friends and a lot of fans of Journeyman that might even proof it down with a natural apple cider to bring it down to 5%. If you're me, you're gonna add some featherbone bourbon to it. You're gonna add maybe a spiced rum, kick it up a notch when you're
Yes, I
drinking
was just about to say I'm
it.
throwing rum in this for sure.
Yeah. Hmm.
I can't wait because I am absolutely a hot apple cider, cold apple cider. I prefer hot, obviously, but I could
Yeah.
drink it either way. But I like a
Yep.
hot, spiked apple cider, and this is like the
This
perfect
is it.
throw in for that.
Yeah. I mean, you can warm this up. Throw it in an electric kettle. Throw it in a crock pot. Throw some apple slices in it. Throw some more cinnamon sticks. Make your kitchen smell like you're making apple pie, and then just drink it instead
Mm-hmm.
of eat it.
Because I do not bake pies, so this would be my way to at least fake the
Good
funk as if I
substitute.
did.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, this is. I'm on the same page as you. Um,
Mm.
I'd rather drink the flavor and get something out of it.
And so the sweetness component to it, are y'all adding actual like sugar
No, it's natural sugars from the apple juice and the apple
from the
cider.
apples? What kind of apples are you guys using?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. In Michigan, we are in a fruit belt region, so
Mhm.
there is tons of different apple varieties. Um, when it comes to cider production, that's not something I'm 100% familiar with, so I'm not really
Okay.
sure. Probably
See,
like
I
Granny,
actually pay
Macintosh.
attention when I'm in the farmer's market and like all the different apples and different names and stuff like
Oh
that
yeah,
so I can know which ones I actually like because they're all so different. There's some that are more bitter, some that are more sweet, some that are
oh
softer,
yeah,
some that are firm. Like,
yep.
it's ridiculous the amount of apples that exists in this world. I will
I'm a
say that
big
much.
Honey Crisp fan. I love a
I'm
Honey
a Honey
Crisp
Crisp
apple.
fan and Crimson
Yes.
Crisp. You need to get on the Crimson
Ooh.
Crisps.
Okay. Okay.
Have you
Okay.
had them?
Haven't yet. I need to.
No, Crimson Crisps are, if you're into Honey Crisp, you'll love them. First of all, the
Crimson
dark,
Crisp.
rich red color in itself will kind of
Yep.
draw you in already,
Sure.
but they're super, super like firm, which I don't do
Okay.
soft apples. So they're like really, really firm. They've got a nice little amount of sweet. They're really good. I highly
Nice little
recommend
crunch.
Crimson Crisps to y'all
Okay.
during this fall season because this is when they're like readily available in like the farmers markets and all the things.
Yeah, absolutely. With a little splash of OCG on the side.
Mm-hmm. I'm definitely throwing some Crimson Crisp in my cider with my
There you
OCG.
go.
I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, warm it up. Warm it
So
up. When
I'm
I go
kind of
on
excited to.
Halloween, actually, my sisters, my siblings, they all have kids, so I'm the uncle in the family.
Hmm.
All the kids go out and trick or treat, and I hold down the house. So we'll warm up some OCG and we'll pass out samples to all
I was gonna say to you,
the
to the
parents.
parents.
Oh yeah, yeah. You're gonna make
Oh,
some
I
food
love
friends by
that.
doing that. Yeah, absolutely.
First of all, that's a great way. People need to do that. Maybe I should do that instead of having.
Yeah.
I might entertain the idea of having candy for the kids. I've never in my own house. I've never put out candy for kids.
No, I haven't
I'm
either.
that house that turns off the porch light. But I'm thinking about getting in the spirit this year and putting out some candy. I
Yeah,
also feel weird about like I know sometimes parents feel weird about having their kids go around to people's houses now because some people are a little crazy and put out like harmful stuff. But I'll be
right.
that safe household that has like the good safe packaged candy for their kids, and then like the samples of bourbon on the side for the
Little
parents.
sample of something special for
Why
the
do more
parents.
people think about the parents?
Oh, I
I
mean,
guess it's a little pricey. Anybody ask you to be out here with your kids all night? Never
yeah.
mind. But
No, that's a trend in my community. I think there's a few houses that are very well known for having hot dogs on the grill, and then beer in the
really,
cooler, and spirit samples to try as well. So, I mean, I think Halloween should be an adult holiday as well as it is a kids holiday.
I really think so. I mean, if the parents got to be out here knocking on doors with their kids all night, I think they should have
Yeah.
a reason to be enthused
Oh,
about it too. I think
absolutely.
I would put on the whole costume and everything if I know that I can knock on a few of these doors and wind up with a
Sure.
couple of samples of some spirits in my bag. Why not?
That's my plan for Halloween this year.
And I'll show up very pleasant. Oh, we got a
Yeah. No,
question
absolutely.
from my bourbon journal. Oh, regarding wheat whiskey. This is a good question, actually. Okay, so my bourbon journal said age definitely isn't everything, but in their opinion, low age does impact wheat whiskey. Do you have any
Okay.
opinions on that?
No, I mean, from my perspective and from experiences here at Journeyman, um, we've done some really cool things with aging in smaller barrels. from 5 gallons to 10 gallons to 15-gallon barrels. Um,
Mm.
more surface contact for the juice requires less aging time. So I mean, it's a number, honestly. If you're doing it in a smaller barrel, you can do 18 to 24 months in a 10-gallon barrel, and it's going to be something that's like uh, 2 to 3 years in a 30-gallon barrel. And you can expedite that time that it takes to actually age a product and get it to maturity and get it to that flavor profile that you're looking for.
Do you feel like, so you said the blend of the Corset whips and whiskey is between what, 4 to 6 years in terms of the blend?
This one's actually probably like 3.5 to 4 years. Yeah,
3.5 to 4 years. Sorry. Okay.
yeah,
So
yeah.
have y'all tried this? Have y'all tried this at an older age yet?
Actually, we have.
Okay.
Every year we do an annual dinner in honor of E.K. Warren and this space that we're located in. It's called the Corsets, Whips, and Whiskey Dinner. And we do a annual
Mhm.
party and celebration that's around it as well, bring in some live music. But when we do those dinners, we actually taste Corsets, Whips, and Whiskey at its various stages. So we taste it
Mm.
unaged. We taste it at a year. We taste it at 2 years. We taste it at 3 years. We taste it at 4 years. This year we got to taste it at 10 years. It is incredible to see the differences in what it does. Um, what we're looking for in terms of our product quality and consistency, and barrel by barrel, we can usually blend that batch out at 3.5, 4 years. Um, but some of the special barrels that we've held on to, those are very, very, very phenomenal.
So do
Maybe
you guys plan
sometime
to only allocate that then? So your older expressions of the wheat whiskey is that kind of reserved for your single barrel program, or is it something that you guys would do like more of an like allocated special edition kind of release later on?
probably a special edition release later on. At the moment, we're actually dabbling with the idea of converting our Three Oaks location where I'm at right now into a wheat house where we're just producing wheat whiskey exclusively. We are
Really?
also, oh yeah, we're opening a second location as well in Valparaiso, Indiana. It'll have a Vendome column still. We're going to sextuple our production. It's going to increase by about 6 times. So we
Wow.
can focus on some other stuff that's in mass distribution down there. But I think to keep, Three Oaks a really fun draw is to make it a wheat house and do 100% wheat whiskey here. Um,
Wow.
what that might look like next year or 2 years or 3 years from now, it's kind of up in the air, but we have a lot of really big plans in store for Journeyman.
As a fan of wheat whiskey, I'm kind of excited about that. I definitely plan to come visit y'all, and
Yeah,
that'll be really
no,
dope to see.
absolutely.
'Cause I think, yeah. I mean, I haven't tried a wheat whiskey. I don't think older than. I gotta see what our barrel pick was in terms of age. 'Cause I think it
Okay,
was a little older than you all's blend, but I
right.
definitely know I haven't tried like a 10 year and all that. So I'm so curious about that progression as it spends more time because I can kind of tell you what'll happen with a bourbon or a rye the older that it gets in a barrel because I've tasted through enough of them, but I haven't been able
Sure.
to delve into this category as much because it's not
Of wheat.
as widespread of a practice right now among whiskey
Yeah.
producers. So I like that y'all are kind of leading the way a little bit in terms of like
Oh,
doubling down on the wheat whiskey. So
yeah.
that's really dope.
Setting the gold
I
standard.
definitely be keeping an eye out in terms of the journey with that. I think that's the journey.
The journey.
All
Yeah.
pun intended, unintentionally.
No, 100%. We're
But
always
no, I think that's
journeymen. We're
really
never
dope.
masters. Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm excited to see where it
Who
takes the
else you
brand
guys?
for
I
sure.
don't think you mentioned you guys distiller. Is the founder also the distiller or no?
He helps with production for sure. I mean, he was the distiller at the start of the project for Journeyman. At the moment, we have a distillation team of distillers. We have a production manager and an operation manager that kind of oversee the whole process. One thing about the brand is we actually don't use the term master at all. If you look back,
Love that because it's a
yeah,
tired term. It needs to be gone. But continue.
agreed, 100%, 100%. If you look at the definition of journeyman, it goes back to the trade guilds of apprenticeship, journeyman, and mastery. So one of our taglines actually is always a journeyman, never a master. So we're striving for mastery.
Mm.
It's not necessarily something that's 100% achievable in this lifetime. But if you're always a journeyman and you're striving for that mastery, you're practicing your craft, you're enhancing the quality of your craft, and you're constantly driving that grit, that ruggedness, and that determination and hard work, and pumping it into the spirits that you're producing.
I love that approach, actually. I think that's a good way to
Yeah,
word that.
yeah.
Always
We don't have a
learning,
master
never a
distiller.
master. Because, I mean,
No,
to
we
be a
never will.
master of something is to kind of imply that there's no more learning that you have to do, but this is an ever-evolving
Yeah.
craft for sure.
No,
So I
absolutely.
like that
And
approach. That's pretty dope. I like
no,
that.
yeah, it's fun too, especially at Journeyman. We have full autonomy over the creative process of our product. We're not
Hmm.
following 100-year-old recipes from family
Hmm.
members that are passed down like other distilleries are,
Yeah.
where they're kind of forced to follow the same lack of creativity when it comes to their mash bills. Um, every different batch that we do, is a new experimentation for us. Whether it's changing the temperature of the distillation, we actually have a dual column hybrid Koth pot still here. It
Mm.
has 36 different copper plates. We can open and close as many of them as we'd like. Typically with whiskey, they're all open to keep that grain flavor in the product. But we play around with it all the time. We're always experimenting. We're always trying something new.
Okay. I love
Yeah,
that. Let me see. My bourbon
absolutely.
journal asked something else. Let's see. Most of their whiskey products seem to be 90 proof. The course of whips and whiskey is well above that. How did the distillery decide what proof and why this mash bill? It's a good question.
For the corsets,
Yeah. They
sure.
said, why did you guys pick this particular mash bill to do the 117 proof?
Sure. No, good question. I mean, Bill, our owner, will be very adamant and open about this. When we first started, he took a lot of inspiration from Buffalo Trace and utilizing wheat. And then as a journeyman, we're taking that path less traveled and trying to do something different. So to create something that doesn't have a lot of representation in the market and, to become a journeyman and to try to enhance it as much as we can, that's what we've done with our wheat whiskey.
Okay. I love that.
Which one are you still sipping on?
It
The
opens up.
corsets?
So right now I'm still smelling the
Okay.
corset whips and whiskey, because the more it sits, of course, the ethanol starts to come out,
Yeah.
and you get to smell more of what's actually going on with it. So I like to let my stuff sit
Absolutely.
a little bit and keep going back to it in terms of the nose.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
grab that
that's sweet
phone
and
and
that lemon. It's like you can almost. It almost smells like, I guess, for lack of a better word, like sweet hay,
yeah,
for
okay,
lack of a
yeah.
better description.
Fresh grass, fresh hay, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm walking
Ooh,
around
yes.
right
Okay, so
now.
this is where we get to look. Okay.
Yes.
Oh,
So
wow.
this
Okay,
is
so those
our
are your column
production still.
stills. And so you guys
Yes.
operate out of a hybrid still? I got a lot of
Yep.
visitors today. Okay, so this is a hybrid still, or this is strictly column still, and then that's your and
Hybrid
ooh,
dual
I'm trying
column.
to
Yep.
ooh, there we go. Okay. I was gonna say my
Yep.
WSET lingo was leaving me right now.
No, you're
I'm
good.
gonna
You're good.
blame it on the whiskey.
No, this is a Coke still imported from Germany. It's entirely copper. We also have, I believe, around 15 fermenters that you can see down there as well,
Wow.
and then just barrels on barrels.
Do
Because
you
of
guys
our
do open
space,
or close fermentation? Do you close your tops or leave them open?
close. Yep, close. Yep. We're
I
actually
love
working
that.
on
Okay,
that
I'm
new
talking to more
project.
and more producers who actually utilize this practice. My first time talking to a whiskey producer where they kept the fermentation vats closed was Westward, and they
Okay.
produce single malts. Do you notice a difference in? I mean, I'm sure this is probably obvious, like yes, but do you notice a difference in the quality of the final product with that at the very beginning of that fermentation process, it being closed off from the environment that it's in?
I think it's definitely a quality control thing. Yeah, absolutely. I'm not sure if we've played around with the concept of trying it with open.
Hmm.
I
You guys
think
have
we might
always
do
done
that.
closed fermentation.
From my understanding, yes, that's probably a good question for Tom, our production manager.
Okay.
Um, but from my understanding, yeah, exactly.
Okay.
There's
I
another
love
angle of
that
the
because I
floor.
know there's a lot of. Oh, so those barrels that are laying down, what are they about to do with those? Are those empty?
I believe that they're filling them and they will take them to our warehouse here. I'm
Okay.
not sure what's coming off the still at the moment. If I had to
Ooh.
guess, I'd guess wheat whiskey because that's what our focus is at the moment.
Oh,
But
you know
this
what I
runs.
wanted to ask you, because you mentioned that you guys were tasting the wheat whiskey at all of its stages. I've never had a white dog of wheat whiskey.
Okay.
So
Okay.
what can you tell us about that flavor profile before it even goes in
It's
the barrel?
it's very sweet. It has a very similar profile. A lot of sweetness to it. It's very clean. It's very soft as a white dog,
Okay.
and especially at the proof that comes off of our still, typically around 120 to 125.
Okay.
It's got some complexity to it, but it's soft and it's approachable still.
Ooh, so I have a small request. I don't know how much of
Okay.
a feat this would be. I would really love to be able to get like a little sample bottle of the
A
white dog
sample
of
of
the
the white
week.
dog.
Is that
I think
possible?
we can make that happen. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm dying to try that. Because
I think we could possibly put
I like
something
to
in a
taste
bottle for you.
like fresh distillate before it goes into a barrel. I think that's like such a great reference point to always have when you're tasting through whiskeys is to taste what it, what it's like before it even touches oak. So if
Right.
that's possible at all for me to get a little sample of that, I would
We got you.
definitely,
Especially if we can get you to the distillery. We can go down to the still
oh
and
yeah.
taste right off the still as it's running. So
Yeah,
easy
and
enough.
I was looking and seeing that you guys have a single barrel program too. So maybe
Yeah.
myself and Blake, if not just me, then myself and Blake for sure. I think it'd be a nice trip for us to come to Michigan
Come
and
fit the
check that
bill,
out for
hang
sure.
out. We'll take care of you guys. We'll give you
Yeah,
the
I've
warm
never been to
welcome.
Michigan, so I'm trying to make my rounds around the states. I'm very much a travel out of the country girl, but I need to explore my own country a little bit. So Michigan is definitely, you guys being there is definitely a good excuse for me to check Michigan off my list.
100%. Beautiful state. We get all 4 seasons. I mean, today the weather is spectacular. Let me show you again here.
Ooh,
We're
yes.
we're working with I don't
I love
know,
a good
60
first-hand look.
degree beautiful fall weather today. This
Ooh.
is actually a shot of our putting green through this screen if you can see it.
Ah,
But
I see. It's
it's
nice and sunny where
sunny,
you
it's
are. It's kind of rainy where
gorgeous.
we are.
The windows are open. We're having a good time here in Michigan.
Now, this is a completely un-whiskey related question, but you mentioning the
Yeah,
windows open. I've been keeping my windows
uh,
open because I was so excited to turn the AC off.
sure.
Not realizing that, like, all of a sudden, after 31 years of life, now I all of a sudden have allergies. The second that
Oh yeah.
September 22nd hit, I can't breathe. And I don't understand where that came from. But is
Oh,
that happening in Michigan too? Or is that like
oh
a
yeah.
DC
It's
specific thing?
Nope. It's definitely here. I mean, being where we're located in the fruit belt region, growing tons of corn, tons of beans, tons of grain, and tons
Yeah.
of different fruit. There are your honeybees, um, and then birds can even spread some of the pollens that people have bad reactions to.
Hmm.
So no, it gets bad here in the spring for sure. The fall's
She
really
said,
not
don't come
too
to
terrible.
Kentucky. I won't if it means that I'm not going to be able to breathe right now. Yes,
Right. Oh,
it's
100%.
ridiculous in DC.
Yeah.
Like, the second I
Yeah.
opened my window, it was like,
hmm
I
hmm
don't understand. And I'm a person who doesn't even have allergy problems in the spring. So
Oh, I mean, if we open our windows at our house, even my cat will get seasonal allergies. So yeah, it's
my
bad.
cat, well, one of my
Yeah.
cats, one of them, she seems to just be unfazed by life itself. But my baby, my kitten, he's like, he already just breathes like a little fat boy because he's such a busybody. But now that I've opened the
Sure.
windows, I can tell that it might be getting to him a little bit too. He's a little more
Yeah,
affected
absolutely.
by the environment, it seems. So I've had to close the windows back up.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
ridiculous.
Same. Go straight from air conditioning to heat because of cats getting those allergens and getting sick from it. You gotta be careful.
Do you have cats too?
I have one. We have one cat at our house. Yeah.
Cat
His
people.
name's Gary. His name's Gary.
Oh, that's my granddad's name, so I have an affinity for the
There you
name
go.
Garrett.
I love it. Yeah. We like SpongeBob
That's
too, so it worked out.
We have one more question from my bourbon journal. I love that you're being
Okay.
so engaged. Okay, he's like, okay, last question. But even if it's not your last question, it's fine. Core says whips and whiskey is obviously a big award winner. What other bottles between your bourbon and rye would be recommended to get a good mix representation of what you guys produce?
Oh, absolutely. Very good question.
Yeah, it's a great
We
question.
actually just received 93 points from Wine Enthusiast on both of our rye whiskeys, Last Feather and Not a King. Um, and then, as we mentioned earlier, the Silver Cross here actually got a gold medal from the Ascot Awards. Um, Biased
What's
opinion,
the difference
obviously.
between your ryes?
Good question. Our Last Feather rye is our flagship whiskey. It's the first whiskey we made. It's a wheated rye. So the mash bill
Okay.
breakdown is 60% rye, 40% wheat. The Not a King that you have up there with the blue label and George Washington on it, that is a little nod to George Washington's original rye whiskey recipe. So that one is 60% rye, 35% corn, and 5% malted barley. The difference being, that corn and that wheat having the high presence in the mash bill.
Yeah.
Both have different types of sweetness to them, both very
Yeah.
sweet grains, but they both promote kind of a different mouthfeel and a different viscosity as well. So,
How would you describe to someone who hasn't experienced wheat as much in terms of the difference in sweetness between a corn dominant, whiskey versus wheat?
yeah, absolutely. No, very good question too. I think anything that has corn in it is going to be, it's going to take on that oiliness, that viscosity, and have, a more heavy sweetness to it is my best way to say that. With wheat, and our heavy wheat mash bills, it's kind of a more fluffy, more round, more light sweetness. They're both very sweet. They both give off all those sweet flavor notes. It's more about the texture of the whiskey at that point.
Okay, that's actually a good point. Okay, difference in texture. I like that.
Yeah,
Okay,
I think the texture, the viscosity, the mouthfeel, um, the difference between the corn and the wheat is that's where you notice it the most.
So I know that as a brand ambassador, it's going to be hard for you to try to pick one particular one to
Oh my
recommend to
gosh.
people because it's like
Yeah.
picking your kids. But my Bourbon
Yes.
Journal wants to know which
Wants
one
to know.
in
Okay.
particular you would
Okay.
recommend.
Okay. So I know we've said a lot of really good things about the corsets,
Hmm.
um, but I will say like an in-house staff favorite as well is the Not a King rye whiskey. Um,
Okay.
the
Not
way
a
that we've
king.
done
You
that.
know what? That one.
Yeah, that's the blue
So
one.
the Not a
Yep.
King rye is this one, you guys. I remember looking at this label earlier, so I know exactly what it was.
Yeah.
But I love that it's blue.
Yeah, so that's the nod to George Washington and his original rye whiskey recipe. Um, as one of the nation's first American distillers, rye grew in abundance in the original colonies of the United States when they were founded. Um, it wasn't until we stole corn and decided to make bourbon out of it and name it after the French and come up with our own geographically named product or spirit. In my humble opinion, I think rye is America's true whiskey. I
Mm.
prefer rye when it comes to whiskey. And I mean, the Not a King with that corn blend in the mash bill, it has similarities between a rye and a hybrid, or a rye and a bourbon, kind of making it a hybrid between the two. Um, I mean,
And why the name Not a King?
good question. We actually at one point called it Federalist 12. So that was the original name for Not a King. And then Federalist
Let's twirl.
Winery, yeah, Federalist Wines actually gave us a little cease and desist, and we had to change the name of the label. At one, oh yeah, yeah, that's happened a few times, especially with up and coming spirit brands. I know quite a few of us that have struggled with that same problem. Um,
Yeah.
but Not a King, that name in particular, comes from a historical quote from George Washington. Supposedly, at one point, he had just won a battle, and one of his generals had mentioned that he should become the first king of the United States. And his reasoning was, we broke away from that for a reason,
For a reason. Yeah.
and I'll be the first president, but I'm not a king. And that's the loose, direct quote that we use for our label.
Okay. I like
Yeah,
that.
absolutely.
This is a really
It's a
cool
really
brand.
good
I'm glad I
whiskey.
got introduced to you guys because
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
theme, the fact that I have this huge facility in Michigan and there's so many different aspects to it that you guys do. And then of course this amazing liqueur.
Oh
Um,
yeah, the apple cider.
I just like it a lot. You guys do a limoncello?
We do a limoncello. It's exclusive to the distillery, but it's very
Yeah, that's what I
tasty.
thought because it wasn't even offered as an option for me to order.
Yeah, we do a coffee liqueur. It's made with bourbon as opposed to most coffee liqueurs, which are like either vodka based. Kahlua is obviously rum based. The bourbon coffee liqueur is a little thinner, but I've never heard of anybody putting vodka or rum in their coffee. I mean, the historic coffee cocktail is your Irish coffee with whiskey, right? So it makes more sense to
Hmm.
use bourbon. It complements the coffee
And my
taste. It
espresso
complements the
martinis
coffee
do not
profile.
involve vodka at all.
They shouldn't. They shouldn't. Um, I think our coffee liqueur is amazing, especially in the espresso martini. A couple ounces of a coffee liqueur, and then an ounce of either real espresso or a cold brew. Um, Foams up really nice. It's a phenomenal little
Mhm.
product.
Ooh, yes. Okay, I need to try that. So I think I just need a whole little
Yeah.
like care package then, Grant.
Oh,
Like
we need to get you to the
distillery
distillery.
exclusives
Seriously.
plus the white
Yeah,
tub of the week.
absolutely.
And that'll
Yeah,
just make my Christmas. That is my one request for Christmas.
we can make something happen for you, D.
Okay, yay. I'm excited about that. Because the
Yeah.
limoncello I'm extra curious about, and then I love
Okay.
coffee liqueurs in general.
Sure.
So if there's a way for me to try those, I
Yeah.
would love to because I enjoy both of
We can
those
make it happen.
categories very
We can
much.
make it happen. Yeah, we can make
Yay.
it
Okay, I have witnesses, all five of y'all. Y'all heard him.
happen.
Well, Grant, I'm not going to keep you up all afternoon. I appreciate you getting on live with
Yeah,
me and talking about the brand some more
of
because I
course.
definitely was curious to learn more. And I'm glad that we could have some people on who hadn't heard of you guys before. So now they
Yeah.
can get familiar.
Yep.
I'd love to see a bottle of bluegrass Sunday. Absolutely, Miss Sinister. Please do DM me. I will give you our address to our warehouse. Thank you so much. I'm always down to try stuff. So please don't be shy. DM me at this page, Seelbach page. But yeah, so Grant, thank you. I appreciate you for your
Thank you, D.
time.
Yeah, appreciate it.
And
And
yeah,
everybody that's watching, please order some bottles through Seelbach wherever you're located. One of the states they ship to. The Corset Whips and Whiskey, the apple cider liqueur. We're ready to get it
we've
to you
got both
guys.
bourbons, we've got both ryes, we've got the Silver
Yep.
Cross, we've got both the Corsets Whips and Whiskey and the Buggy Whip. It's Buggy Whip, right?
Boogie Whip,
Weed
yep.
whiskey, and that's at the lower proof. And then we've also
Yep.
got the Fab OCG for as long as it's available throughout the season. So if you guys are curious about that, we have that too. And like I said, if it's not currently available on the website, it will be today. So just keep an eye out, and I'll make sure that it's up there.
Absolutely.
I'm
Thank
so
you, D. I appreciate your
excited.
time. Yeah, of course. It's very
Yes,
nice
and
to
I
meet you.
appreciate everyone that
Very
tuned in
long
with us.
overdue.
Yeah, it is long overdue. We've been trying to get our paths to cross at the right time for a
Yeah,
minute now. So I'm glad we
yeah.
got a chance to do so.
Well, here's to more of it happening in the future. And
Yes.
thanks for everybody that tuned in.
Yes.
And looking forward
Cheers.
to seeing everybody at Three Oaks, Michigan someday.
Yes, absolutely. I'll be making my way to Michigan. I'm making my rounds throughout the states next year. So I
We
will definitely be
we
seeing you
gotcha.
soon.
We gotcha.
All right, John. Thank you for tuning in, guys. If you have any more questions or anything like that, you guys know I post this to the page. So feel free to comment, DM, whatever, myself or Grant. And yes, until our next live, guys, have a
See
great
you.
rest of your afternoon.
See you, D. Bye.
Bye.